For decades, defense analysts have warned that the wars of tomorrow would not be decided solely by human soldiers, but by machines operating with relentless precision. Swarms of drones, autonomous vehicles, and robotic weapons platforms would take the most dangerous positions on the battlefield, while operators directed them from protected command posts far from incoming fire. In Ukraine, that forecast is no longer theoretical. Along contested stretches of the front, Russian assault groups advance expecting to clash with entrenched Ukrainian infantry. Instead, they increasingly encounter unmanned ground systems, steel-bodied combat platforms that do not tire, panic, or hesitate. Ukraine's expanding fleet of robotic vehicles is no longer experimental. It is active, evolving, and becoming central to how Kyiv wages war. Although robotic warfare feels cutting-edge, the concept itself is not new. During the First World War, engineers in France experimented with early remote explosive carriers, crude by modern standards, but revolutionary for their time. By the 1930s, the Soviet Union fielded the teletank, a radio-controlled armored vehicle equipped with machine guns and flamethrowers. These machines saw limited use during the Winter War against Finland and in the early stages of the German-Soviet conflict in 1941. The United Kingdom explored similar ideas with radio-guided armored vehicles, while other militaries intermittently revisited unmanned ground concepts throughout the 20th century. Yet technological limits, high costs, and operational complexity repeatedly stalled progress. For decades, the idea remained ahead of practical capability. That equation has shifted dramatically. Advances in communications, compact sensors, AI-assisted targeting, and commercially available components have made battlefield robotics more viable than ever. Ukraine has seized that opportunity with unusual speed. When Russia's full-scale invasion began, unmanned ground vehicles, UGVs, referred to in Ukraine as ground robotic complexes, appeared only sporadically. Early units were often imported or assembled in small batches. But Ukrainian commanders quickly recognized their tactical value and encouraged domestic production. Within a few years, the landscape changed entirely. Independent assessments have indicated that nearly all robotic ground systems now deployed by Ukrainian forces are produced domestically. Manufacturing has scaled at an extraordinary pace. In 2024, Ukraine possessed only several hundred operational units. Production targets rose sharply for 2025 and again for 2026, reflecting a strategic decision to embed robotics deeply into frontline doctrine. Quantity is only part of the story. Diversity has expanded just as rapidly. What began as a handful of experimental platforms has grown into a catalog of hundreds of distinct models produced by dozens of Ukrainian firms. Some systems specialize in reconnaissance and surveillance. Others are optimized for mine-laying, logistics resupply, or direct-fire engagements. Certain heavier platforms are designed to anchor defensive positions, while lighter variants maneuver quickly through trench networks and damaged urban terrain. This range provides operational flexibility. Commanders can deploy specific machines tailored to terrain, mission type, and threat environment. As the robotic fleet expands, Ukraine gains the ability to reduce exposure of human personnel in high-risk tasks, clearing trenches, suppressing fortified positions, or probing enemy lines. Three major factors explain how Ukraine accelerated this transformation so quickly. First, urgency. Ukraine is fighting a live, adaptive war against a numerically larger adversary. There is no room for multi-year procurement cycles weighed down by bureaucracy. Development timelines that might take months elsewhere are compressed into weeks. Field testing happens under combat conditions. Systems are refined rapidly based on battlefield performance rather than prolonged laboratory evaluation. This wartime innovation cycle mirrors developments in Ukraine's aerial drone sector, where new variants appear continuously. Not every prototype performs flawlessly, but iterative improvement happens in real time. The pressure of survival has effectively replaced peacetime caution. Second, integration between industry and soldiers. In many countries, Defense contractors operate at arm's length from frontline units. Designs are shaped by theoretical requirements rather than immediate battlefield realities. Ukraine has taken a different approach. Engineers maintain direct communication with combat brigades. Feedback flows from trench to factory floor. When operators identify flaws, limited battery endurance, weak signal resilience, insufficient stabilization, manufacturers adjust designs quickly. Soldiers influence weapon mounts, camera placement, armor thickness, and software interfaces. This tight feedback loop reduces the disconnect that often hampers large defense programs. Third, relative simplicity. Compared to main battle tanks or armored personnel carriers, unmanned ground systems are mechanically less complex. Without crew compartments, life support systems, or internal ergonomics, designers can focus on mobility, durability, and firepower. Many Ukrainian robots are compact, some comparable in footprint to small utility carts, and built using modified commercial components reinforced for battlefield stress. Weapon systems, such as 7.62mm or 50 caliber machine guns, are integrated onto stabilized mounts. Cost advantages are significant. While high-end models require substantial investment, many platforms are dramatically cheaper than traditional armored vehicles. This affordability enables mass production and reduces strategic risk when units are destroyed in combat. The contrast with the United States is instructive. Despite vast defense budgets, American attempts to field armed robotic ground vehicles have faced repeated setbacks. Programs in the 1980s explored remotely operated armed vehicles and anti-armor platforms, yet none matured into sustained deployment. Later initiatives, including armed reconnaissance robots tested in Iraq, saw limited operational use before funding was curtailed. More recent robotic combat vehicle efforts encountered escalating costs and shifting priorities. Ukraine, by contrast, has fielded systems at scale during an ongoing high-intensity conflict. Its robots are not demonstration models, they are engaged in active combat. Integrating new technology into war, however, requires adaptation. Ukrainian troops initially used UGVs for relatively narrow missions, such as explosive delivery or mine emplacement. Over time, roles expanded. In 2024, footage emerged of an armed ground robot advancing ahead of infantry during an assault on Russian positions. Rather than supporting from the rear, the machine spearheaded the attack, drawing fire and suppressing enemy trenches. This marked a doctrinal shift. Robots were no longer auxiliary tools, but forward combat assets. One widely discussed platform, the Lyut 2.0, weighs approximately 300 kilograms and carries a PKT machine gun capable of effective fire at significant distances. Armored plating protects critical components from small arms fire. In recorded engagements, such vehicles endured explosions and anti-armor attempts while continuing to operate. Psychological impact proved considerable. Opposing troops confronted an adversary immune to fear and indifferent to casualties. By mid-2025, Ukrainian units achieved another milestone. In operations near the Kharkiv region, combined use of aerial drones and ground robots neutralized fortified positions and compelled Russian soldiers to surrender. It was one of the first publicly documented cases in which unmanned systems conducted the decisive phases of a mission without direct human presence in the assault zone. Subsequent footage showed UGVs engaging armored vehicles and providing sustained defensive fire. In late 2025, reports described a robotic platform maintaining a contested position for extended periods, controlled remotely from protected shelters. The system reportedly suppressed repeated enemy advances without Ukrainian personnel occupying the exposed frontline position. Manufacturers such as DevDroid have become prominent contributors to this ecosystem. Their platforms incorporate extended operational range, encrypted communications, and increasing degrees of automated navigation. Some models feature ballistic computing assistance to improve accuracy under battlefield conditions. In early 2026, additional video evidence surfaced of robotic systems engaging enemy infantry directly. The engagements highlighted both tactical effectiveness and the shifting nature of frontline warfare. Machines tracked targets, adjusted fire, and maintained stability under return fire. Another widely circulated incident in eastern Ukraine showed a reconnaissance strike robot compelling enemy soldiers to surrender after sustained suppression. Operators controlled the platform remotely, minimizing risk to Ukrainian personnel while achieving a strategic objective. These episodes underscore a broader pattern. Unmanned ground systems are transitioning from experimental support tools to integral components of combined arms operations. As production targets continue to rise, their presence along contested sectors such as Donetsk and Luhansk is expected to increase. Future developments are already underway. Ukrainian firms are testing heavier robotic platforms designed to carry larger caliber weapons, including 30mm cannons capable of delivering substantial firepower at extended ranges. These next-generation systems require reinforced chassis and advanced stabilization to manage recoil. If successfully fielded, they could provide direct fire support traditionally supplied by armored vehicles, but without exposing crews to immediate danger. The trajectory is clear: enhanced autonomy, stronger armament, longer operational endurance, and tighter integration with drone reconnaissance networks. Robotics will not replace human soldiers entirely, but they are redefining how risk is distributed across the battlefield. Ukraine's experience is being closely observed by military planners worldwide. The war has become an unintended laboratory for rapid innovation under extreme pressure. Lessons drawn from Ukrainian robotic deployment may shape procurement strategies and doctrine far beyond Eastern Europe. For now, as more unmanned systems roll toward active combat zones, they reinforce Ukraine's defensive resilience and offensive flexibility. Machines that do not fatigue, hesitate, or require evacuation are altering the calculus of frontline engagements. Robotics represent only one dimension of Ukraine's evolving military strategy. The integration of aerial drones, electronic warfare, and adaptive logistics has also transformed the character of the conflict. Together, these developments suggest that the future battlefield, once imagined in theory, is already emerging in practice.